What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Awakening World. It's our Wednesday night edition, and it's another episode of Authors That We Love. And we've got two wonderful women with us tonight who have both written really important and powerful books. And we're going to have a dynamic conversation about everything from goddess to the cosmos to awakening our world. And so welcome. I am Love Coach Scott Katamas. And our two authors, one of whom you've seen on the show before, going way back all the way to when we were doing Saturday Night Alive with the Global Peace Tribe. This is Anodea Judith. And many of you have read her many books. She has done a lot. I was on her website, and this is what I saw when looking at her books. Look at all that she's done. And I think, certainly, I think everybody has Wheels of Life. That's one of those books like Autobiography of a Yogi that is on every bookshelf. Every one of us has that one. Anyway, she is here to share her newest book, all about goddess. So we're looking forward to connecting with Anodea. And then we have a new friend with us, which is Lee Kempter. And Lee came to us referred by the great Reverend Jeffrey Colebrook. And Lee has written a wonderful new book, which I was blessed to receive in the mail just a few days ago. You probably can't see it because of the background, but here it is. It's all about tethered to the cosmos. So we're going to be tethered to Lee and to Anodea for the next 90 minutes, or maybe a little bit longer, learning all about them, their books, their life. So welcome to the Awakening World, Lee. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you. And Lee, we always start our shows with music. And we are very blessed to have an amazing house musical artist, our beloved friend, Omar Shar. Welcome, brother.
Namaste, everybody, and welcome to my house. So that's why I'm the house musician, because I'm in my house somewhere on planet Earth. And here's a lovely song, and it's called The Wonderful and the New. And so let's start it. Never walk away again, so lay down all your guards. Your loving hearts will lead the way, the door is open. The wonderful and the new is waiting patiently. Take the step and you will see all you've been dreaming. Now is the time you've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. You'll never be alone again. Please take my hand in yours. I love you just the way you are. You're my creation. The wonderful and the new is waiting patiently. Take a step and you will see all you've been dreaming. Now is the time you've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. You'll never walk this way again, so lay down all your guards. Your loving hearts will lead the way. The door is open, and now is the time you've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, beautiful, beloved brother Omashar. Thank you. Let's all twinkle Omashar. I'm going to go to gallery view real quickly. And let's all give him some good love and some good twinkles.
Thank you. And I have a surprise for my next song at the end.
Ah, well, all right.
It might be a new one.
All right.
And they're pouring out of me like rabbits at the moment. So
Good. Well, better to be making songs than babies or
there we
rap.
are.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we are going to go to beautiful, beloved Anadea Judith. And Anadea, it's always good to see you. We've known each other for a long, long time.
Oh, decades, I think.
Definitely decades. Kind of in and out of Marin County events and experiences and Sebastopol events and experiences. And Anadea is a wonderful author, leader, very involved in the whole goddess movement. We're going to learn all about that. But we're going to actually be blessed with her starting us off with tonight's meditation. And so, Anadea, I'm going to just turn it over to you to lead however you wish.
Namaste, everyone. And that's really what it's about, waking up the divine in ourselves and bringing heaven down to earth. So let's do that in our meditation. Let's close our eyes, put your feet on the floor. Take a deep breath in and let out all the busyness of the day, all the doing, all the striving, all the trying to figure things out. And just let your energy flow down your body like a slow river flowing to the sea. And just continue to take your breath in deeply and let it out, maybe with a little soft sound. Releasing your shoulders down toward the earth. settling deep into your body, into your seat, becoming spirit embodied, feeling that divine self waking up inside and opening that central column of energy that connects heaven and earth through the very sacred center of you. And we know that in that sacred core lie the energy centers of the chakras. And so let's just imagine our world and what it could be through the lens of each chakra. So opening the crown, imagine a world that was informed and governed by wisdom, and that there is a greater intelligence behind it all, if we can just quiet ourselves to listen, and that that intelligence guides our actions and our words. And we come down to chakra 6, the world of vision, and we imagine a world that's beautiful, as this world that we have been given is so beautiful. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's spring and the goddess is just bursting with color and life. But imagine the whole world bursting with color and life, a springtime for humanity, a world you're happy to wake up to. And we come down to the throat chakra and imagine a world based on truth, where we truly listen to each other, where we feel safe to speak our truth, where we are governed by deep truths that we share. And of course, in the heart, we want a world governed by love, a world more of collaboration than competition, a world more of peace than war, a world more of acceptance than judgment, a world of inclusion rather than separation, a global heart. And then dropping down into our solar plexus, we empower that world. And what about a world where each person feels empowered to make a difference, feels empowered in their life to be who they are, to be effective change makers? And as we drop down to the second chakra, let's not forget a world of pleasure, a world that feels good, where we're happy, where we enjoy life. And finally, coming down to the root, a world where the bodies and the environment are healthy, a world of health in everything, in our physical world. And so as we ignite our chakras all the way up and down in the inner world, we also connect them with the outer world. And we hold this to be possible. And this is the world that we are creating together. Namaste.
Mhm. Beautiful. Thank you very much, Shanadea. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to very briefly read a little bit about her, and I put it in the chat box. And I want to welcome all of you that are watching on all the different broadcast partners. We go out to about 150 Facebook groups and pages. So if you're watching us on Facebook or Conscious Awakening Network, really appreciate our friends there, or maybe Alan Steinfeld's YouTube channel. However you might be watching us, welcome. You know, I'd like to invite you to actually come into the Zoom room. Come and join us. And this is a good time to do so because we just are starting our 4-month season. People that join us who register will get all the Zoom room links to all of our shows from now all the way till the end of June 30th. And it's easy. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com. That's where you can learn all about us, all about the different shows that we do, and then click register for the new season. And that will take you to our registration page. And then from there, you can then decide what level you want to come in on, to join us and to participate in all of our shows. We do 2 or 3 shows every week, always on Wednesday night and on Saturday night. And then we do special events. In fact, we might even be doing a special event this Friday night that we're right now putting together. So come and join the Global Peace Tribe. And most of all, you get to meet amazing people like our first guest, Anadea Judith. And to tell you a little bit about her, she's been called a prophet for our time, and she clearly is that. She's a globally recognized teacher, speaker, healer, and writer. She's definitely on the intersection of personal and collective awakening. Her passion for the realization of our potential matches her concern for humanity's impending crises, a fervent wish that we wake up in time. Well, that's what this show is all about, Anadea. It is about an awakening world. And there's my dog cheering that. So I'm going to come right in before we get to your new book and just ask you, as somebody who's been on this path for a long time, for decades, you've been writing books and about raising up our consciousness. How are you feeling? What's your honest, we're all family here, so we can talk honestly. To what degree are you optimistic? To what degree are you concerned, skeptical? How do you feel about the state of our being and our planet?
Well, it's a nail biter for sure. And this year especially is a nail biter. What I know about evolution is that our crises are evolutionary drivers. Barbara Marx Hubbard said that. And that a system does not change when it's stable. And the systems that we're living on and living under are outdated. They served a very good purpose once upon a time when we were first putting civilization together. We needed a strong man on top to organize everything while the women were having babies. That made sense once a long time ago when we were really young children in our evolutionary journey. But now we're grown-ups. Now we have, tools for collaboration. Now we are going through the initiation to our adulthood. And, the nail biter is, what is this initiation going to look like? How bad does it have to get for humanity to wake up? But the silver lining is that everything that is pushing us in a direction is pushing us toward a better world. And I think we'll get to a point where we look back at the way we used to live. And, just like we might look back at, periods long ago and say, oh my God, did people really do that? Did they really put leeches on their body to bleed them and call that healing? What are some of the things that we have outgrown? And we will shake our heads in amazement that we ever lived the way we're living now. Not that all of it's bad. So in the long run, I'm optimistic. In the short run, it's a nail biter, and I'm a little concerned, more than a little concerned, but I am ultimately optimistic. We're just at a test. Will democracy hold? Will our values hold? Humanity is being tested to see who we are and if we're capable of going to the future.
It's a beautiful way of putting it. I don't get political on this show. I don't take a political stance, but I do want to say that one victory that I'm proud of is how our judicial system, and believe me, there's lots of complaints you could have about the judicial system, but that our judicial system did balance out an attempt on changing our democratic way. And I'm really proud of those, especially Republican judges, that still stood firm in the truth of what was illegal. And so, that was a checks and balance that worked. And that's something that I celebrate, and we'll see how things continue to evolve. And of course, I think we all know that the great evolution is not going to come from who is or isn't elected president. It's going to come from us. It's, as the Dalai Lama said, the next Dalai Lama is the Sangha. It's us. So now you are here because you are an author that we love. And I'm going to put a spotlight on your new book, Goddess, Blessed Reunions with the Feminine Face of the Divine. So please tell us about your newest book here.
Well, it's very interesting how this book came to be. I've served the goddess all my life. I was ordained as a priestess in 1985, long before it was fashionable. And way back in the previous century, I was writing a book on the goddess, and I'd written maybe 4 or 5 chapters, and I put it in a notebook. And, life, I went on to other things, and I wrote my chakra books, and it went on a shelf. And so I was cleaning my office one day, and I found that notebook, and I went, I wonder if you're ever going to do anything with this. And I kind of just filed it away, put it back on the shelf. And a couple weeks later, I was in a Zoom breakout session in my Evolutionary Leaders group. And I met Ariel Patricia, who is the publisher of the Common Sentience series. And she said, and we wound up in a Zoom breakout together. And she said, I know you, and I know you're writing, and I want a book on the goddess, and you should write it. Let's have a meeting. And so it was like, I didn't even go searching for it. The goddess came to me. And the book has the 3 parts. One part is theory that tells all about the goddess and her different aspects, and some mythological stories and some history. The middle part is stories written by many different people of their personal encounters with the goddess in some form and what happened. And I have 2 of those stories. I start and end that section. And then the third is practices to bring us closer to the goddess and to bring us what I call home to the goddess. And home stands for Holy Order of Mother Earth.
Beautiful. Ariel Patricia is definitely a friend. She's referred so many of her authors, and she really is kind of like, her books are like the great books for all of our bookshelves. So, well, it's wonderful to have you with us. And of course, we're going to be conversing with Anodea throughout the show. But I'm eager to introduce our audience to our other guest tonight, and that is Lee Kempter. So welcome, Lee. This is your first time, of course, on the Awakening World. And I'm going to share a little bit about Lee based on her bio. She's been a mentor, curriculum creator, and meditation teacher. She is the Amazon best-selling author of a young adult novel called The Hidden Light. And I'd love to hear about that. And her recent book, which is the one that kind of brought her to us, is called Tethered to the Cosmos. And it incorporates her deep exploration and study of unified science at the International Space Federation, exploring the true nature of reality of the quantum field that we live in. Her amazing talent as an author allows us to experience a heart-centered journey that interweaves a present and a future in which humanity recognizes that it can triumph over the escalating threat of impending extinction by embracing its massive quantum potentiality. And of course, Lee, our beloved Reverend Jeffrey, is always letting us know the latest of what's happening with the International Space Federation. But as a new friend to us, tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, as you mentioned, I've been a meditator, obviously, for quite a long time. But I started off my life as more of like in the box kind of person. I came from a really traditional background, like Orthodox Catholic, very much family values, and there were their boxes. And when I reached my mid-30s, it happens for a lot of people, my soul was hurting so badly, I had to break out of the box. And that's when the meditation came. And it was so outside the box for friends and family that it took me a little bit of time to come to my own and say, but this is who I am. So I write from the perspective of real people, whether it's the young adult book, the things that we grapple with. So when I'm writing this book, for example, is going to take us from 2020 to 2045, all the things that I feel like I'm grappling with and my friends are grappling with, but the characters take it to a quantum level and really, really look at it. So I love the idea of getting still. I realized long ago that was the magic of meditation. It wasn't just so I could feel good and all that. It took me to what the quantum scientists say is the core. And when I get to my core and I get into stillness, from there I get into flow. So my life journey's been and continues to be how to stay in that flow, how to be just literally invite the unknown in, because that's where we're headed. We're headed for unknown. We've never seen times like this. I haven't, and I don't think my ancestors have, quite like we have right now. So that's my background is meditation, teaching it, sharing it, and also I've done quite a bit of caregiving for both my parents and my husband. So I took quite a hiatus for periods of time to not write and teach meditation or do anything. I was strictly worked with that, which that has influenced me. Because when you care for someone who's going through the transition, the highs, the lows, and the beautiful, majestic transition into all that is comes alive. And that's changed me forever. With no more fear of death. And there's not the fear aspect of life for me because of that. I see the potentiality, but I know it doesn't come without the inner work. So that's my life. My background is the inner work.
Beautiful. I want to ask you about that stillness point. I'm thinking to when we've had Deepak Chopra on the show, and he's talked about how it's in the space and in the blank void that all creation can emerge from. And so when you're talking about your personal epiphany, if it will, that's my word, not yours, but kind of hitting that stillness point, talk a little bit more about what that means, especially for you, and then maybe how we can access that and work with that stillness point.
Yeah, this still point, and I've experienced it, and most of us really probably have since we were children, is this place where, to me, it feels like my mind literally drops into the center here, and I let it go in and in and in to a place where there's no more thinking. There's no more worrying, and not even any emotions. It's this deep inward place that I have come to trust. So it is the silence inside. Once I get there, though, what has happened more and more and continues to happen more is the idea that I've gone in, but now it starts expanding. And the more that I go in without trying to control it, this core central place that I experience in the heart space. Some people, feel it in the third eye or the dantian in the gut. I just happen to feel it for me in the heart space. So once I've gone in there and I go deeper and deeper and just allow myself to go into it, it then starts this expansion, and the expansion is just endless. That's what I call the flow state. Now I'm in flow. And if my eyes are closed and I'm in that state, I'm not thinking. But when I come out, I have access to the flow of all that is. And that's what I learned when I started listening to Nassim Haramein explain it in mathematics and geometry and all that we're actually going in to the core of what he would call the spinning vortex, that the invisible part of ourselves. We let ourselves actually touch that place. But I don't try to control it, and I don't set a timer for my meditation. I go in, stay in that space, let it expand, and I come out. Sometimes I do that 5 times a day, sometimes once a day. My meditations changed so much in the last few years, just so much in that way of allowing the energies to be what they want to be. And I will also say, if I actually feel it more in the middle of the head, I don't fight that either. I've just given up on trying to control any of it, and but I do take the time to go into that core place, that still space.
Right. Beautiful. Well, I'm going to bring Anaday up, and we're going to really make this a very interactive show tonight. So I want to invite all of our people in the Zoom room to give thoughts, comments, questions. There are going to be a few that have already come in, and We'll start with Carol wrote, at the point of the turning world, there the dance is, and there is only the dance. So that's a beautiful reflection to what you were saying, Lee. And we actually have a question from Susan Bloomquist. This is probably for you, Anadea. She's asking, do you refer to the goddess as Gaia?
Yes, Gaia is one form of the goddess and probably the main form, because even Gaia has many forms, but it's seeing Gaia or the earth as a living, intelligent being that is self-regulating. We know that the amount of oxygen stays stable in the atmosphere. We know that the ocean salinity stays stable. How does that happen? There is a self-regulation. There is an intelligence. Redwood trees are growing faster now as we have climate change. What makes that happen? So it's seeing the intelligence within the planet as a living colossal being. And just like we might say fleas don't know they're on an elephant, humans are, so small, we're not capable of seeing the entirety as a unity of a colossal organization of intelligence. So yes, Gaia is one aspect of the goddess, but there's many. The cosmos is another aspect of the goddess, and the Queen of Death is another aspect of the goddess. So there's many, many different aspects. And another one is Sarasvati, who is the flow. So responding to what you just said, Lee, she is the purity that comes from the river. And she gives the gift of speech. She's the patroness of the 64 arts. Brahma utters reality into existence with his breath, and Sarasvati turns it into art. And so we know that almost any art we do, whether it's music or writing or dancing or drama, it's better when we're in the flow. And this is the flow state that you're talking about. And that flow, the core to me, is the connection of heaven and earth. And that is the river of divine flow that we're bringing down into manifestation through our core. I've been a meditator for 52 years, so I'm with you on that.
All right, I'm going to read another couple comments, and then I'm going to actually go to Reverend Jeffrey for a moment. But Diara has put in a few beautiful things. She wrote, we are the groundswell of love and light. And she continues by saying, the veil disappears because it is so close to source, which is a very beautiful way of looking at it. And then DR also commented to you, Lee, saying, I love that flow, Lee. Rather than freeze, flight, fawn, we flow. And that's a great alternative to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Beautiful. And again, bring your comments and questions in. It's going to be an interactive night. We're going to bring up our beloved Reverend Jeffrey, who is, of course, a big fan and part of the International Space Federation. What do you have on your third eye there, Jeffrey?
I learned this. Well, actually, it was very interesting. We were having a breakout group over at the International Space Federation about putting the arc crystal on our heads. Voila, your next show Saturday night, one of your great guests shows up with the arc crystal on his forehead. And of course, this is the technology and some of the solutions that we are bringing into the solutions for what we're facing. And that, of course, is being developed at the scientific and technological level at the International Space Federation. But trust me, the people over there are as esoteric as you'll find anywhere. They're not just crunching formulas. They're definitely doing a lot. And that's why our quantum pilot here, Lee Kempter, is such an amazing way of translating these understanding of this science into a loving, beautiful, heart-centered. I mean, it's so moving. I mean, she talked about her own personal experience, but what she went through with taking care of her husband when he was passing. It projects itself so beautifully and deeply understood about the nature of how we stay connected in the book. It's such a beautiful example. I just can't tell you. I just love this book. I really love this book, and it moves me. It takes me places where I can't go myself, but I hold on to some of these giant. She's a gentle giant, and in many ways. And hey, if you go there, you might find your own gentle giant too, because it's amazing crossing how she takes us safely across the veil and back. Tethered to our hearts, tethered to the cosmic heart.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Well, thank you, Jeffrey, for your enthusiasm. And what's something that she has shared or taught you that's impacted you?
Well, that is how she interprets all this living and solutions in the quantum mystery with an understanding of the field. We're dealing with a lot of crazy mysteries that we're just having to now integrate, and watching her doing it with such a gift of of understanding and going through the process that we are having to shift into a whole new awareness. It was beautiful. I mean, it lifted me up and makes me feel that deep connection. And I'm grateful for her book. And I, give it a double thumbs up for a journey. And that's exactly what we're doing here. We're on a journey, a deep journey. And when you have, people like Lee able to take us on these journeys and emotionally connect with this field at that level while we're going through all this process, this huge process that we are, and you are the master of here bringing it together in this fertile grounds, where we can go through these changes. And I just so appreciate you, Scott. You are definitely a master of this process here and bringing all these people together so we can go through this.
Oh,
and I'm, it's amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, we love you, Jeffrey. And we do have a question, and this would be a good one for both of you. And by the way, DR writes, Jeffrey, you recommend great books. Thank you for bringing beloved Lee to us. And it's true. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Susan is asking, so this is a question for both Anadea and Lee. Can you give us some tips on how to meditate effectively?
Well, you just spotlighted me, so I guess I'll start. Yeah, I've been meditating for 52 years, and I started out with TM, where I was given a mantra, and that became sort of my meditation for a long time. I still use that mantra some, but my meditation practice has expanded so much. But mostly I come to sit, have a special place in my room, in my bedroom in the morning. I open my crown, much like the meditation I led, and I just imagine emptying out and pulling down divine energy and filling up with that as I let my thoughts go, as I tune into my breath, as I settle down into stillness, into emptiness. And just as Lee described, it begins with finding that still space in the core and letting my body settle, but then it expands. And it's like the sacred space expands. What is expanding? It's kind of an emptiness, but it's an emptiness that is very, very full. And insights come to me. I often sit there with, a pen and paper next to me so I can jot something down. And I just imagine a downward current coming from the heavens down to earth. And just like being in a shower where you let the water come over you until you're clean, but it's on the inside. I let that come down until I feel clean and ready for the day.
Beautiful. Thank you. I love the vision of the shower. That's awesome. Lee, what are some tips you'd like to share?
Yeah, it sounds like that Anadea and I started the same kind of thing. Like that, I used to do mantras and a lot of that kind of work, and my meditation also has shifted a lot. I actually it came to a point where I felt like I needed to feel my body when I started to meditate. And I never really thought about that before. It's more like quieting the mind. But this is like just letting my mind, the energy of the mind, just slowly descend and right into the center of the heart space, the whole chest, and let that energy just be there for a minute. And then allowing myself to feel what it feels like to be in that energy. I literally pay attention for just however long it takes to settle into that energy. What does it feel like viscerally? And once I'm settled in, then I just sit with the feeling of that energy. And it starts to just expand beyond like a small globe. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And over time, I actually allowed myself and trained my body, mind to let it expand and expand and expand. And I'd ask myself in the beginning, how far can it be? How far can it expand? Front, back, on both sides. So my meditation became very visceral for me. And at some point, though, the body gives up. And it's just the expanding energy, which is just the pure, coming from pure core out. Yeah.
Beautiful. We've got a couple of comments that I'm going to share. Omushar writes, he gave us a little tip. He says, so important to let your body and mind settle down as a prerequisite to meditating. Absolutely. And Terry Russo, who in a moment we're going to celebrate, Terry wrote, if it weren't for meditation, I'd be a real unhappy person. So I'm very grateful for my daily practice. So there's a couple of nice things. And Terry, I'm going to take a moment to embarrass you. Since you just offered up, it was Thursday last week. And we are a new thing on Global Peace Tribe, where we're asking all of you to send us your birthdays. And beloved Joy down in Ecuador is going to be our birthday calendar. And the very first person who responded, I sent out the email on yesterday asking people to send us your birthdays. And Terry was the first one to respond, and it had just been her birthday. So you're our virgin. You are the very first of the Global Peace Tribe birthday bash. We'll kind of see how it evolves. Let's all take a moment, and I'm going to put the fall focus on Terry.
Wow, I'm impressed. My birthday was Monday on the 11th, so you sent it the day after, so it was in my head. I go, yeah, I'll just send it for next year. Because I knew I'd forget, because my memory, I have CRS disease as we get past 50, 60, you know. Do you know what that is, CRS disease?
No, what is that?
Can't remember blank. So I figure I'll do this for next year. It could be for this year. So thank you. That's very kind. I'm having a great time spending winter in SoCal. And I'm going to be in Tempe and Sedona next week. Then I come back to SoCal. Then I go home to Cape Cod. And then I go see the eclipse in Cleveland with some dear friends I haven't seen since college. And then after that, I think I'll be back in Cape Cod for a while, starting up my holistic practice. So it's been an exciting winter. So I'm very happy. Thank you, everybody.
The last thing, while we've got the focus on you, let's all put our Global Peace Tribe love onto Terry. And what's a vision for this new cycle around the sun that's starting? What's a vision we can all hold for you?
That I can get this holistic practice going in my yoga studio, not my yoga studio, my friend's yoga studio, because I think this would be great for the community and for me as I age, because I believe in it more than Western medicine. So to me, this is important. So I'm very excited. Hopefully this will work so that I help people be healthier and, less side effects, toxicity, and could have a part-time income while I start collecting Social Security. I'm waiting for Medicare soon.
Well, maximum grace for Terry Russo, maximum grace for your health, for your wealth, and for the success of your beautiful and very important new venture. Maximum grace.
Thank you so much. Peace, everybody. It's important.
And there's a lot of wonderful comments that have come into the chat box for you, Terry. So definitely make sure that you take a look at those.
I will. Thank you so much.
All right. I did notice that a couple of questions have come in. And then we're going to have a Omashar song in a few minutes. Don Drake, by the way, just said, Lee, I love your description of embodied meditation and beyond. Sylvia has a question for both of you. So I'm going to bring both of you back up. And Sylvia's question is, would you be up for speaking to Mother Wound, Mother Well, and or the womb sacral heart connection as a gateway in meditation?
Which one would you like us to start?
Well, why don't you start with the mother wound, talking about, and if I'm understanding what she's asking, and you can correct me, Sylvia, I'm interpreting it to mean that how can we use the mother wound as a way to actually, as a gateway into meditation? That's kind of how I interpreted that. But anything you wish to say about the mother wound?
Yeah, so we are all suffering from a mother wound. We are living in a culture that is, its dominant mythology is a father with no mother. So we're living in a broken home. We don't even know there was a mother. We don't ever talk about her. We have a father that rules alone and doesn't even date. So we are all suffering from a mother wound. And if you go back in history and back to ancient history, you see that once the whole world did worship a mother that was, seen as the life-giving force of the earth. And then as she matured, we came into civilization and there were established goddess temples and gods and goddesses and full pantheons. And then that was brutally knocked down. The whole religion suppressed and destroyed, and the temples turned to ruins and the statues beheaded and the priestesses killed. And so at that time, the knowledge of the mother, the worship of the mother, the understanding of the intricacy of interconnection of all of nature was lost from the culture, and its value was diminished. And that affected all our mothers all the way down the line, and our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers and all the way down. So the whole culture is suffering from a mother wound. And then that comes through your individual family in whatever form it comes. A woman who wasn't valued and had too many children, a woman who, wanted to leave her husband but couldn't because she couldn't earn a living, or, whatever the wound was. And then that second question about the heart space and the womb as a center of meditation. An interesting thing happened to me as I was working on the Goddess book. I found myself going into resistance about meditating. And I've been a meditator for over 50 years. And I thought, what's that about? I just didn't want to sit. And I realized as I really meditated on it, so to speak, that my body was tired of being rigid and utterly imperfectly still. Now that has its value, but there's a kind of meditation that is more feminine, that isn't rigid. It's moving. It's sometimes saying, what does my body want to do? Oh, this shoulder wants to move up. And, oh, maybe I want to wiggle my hips a little. And maybe I want to move energy through my spine. And that feeling different parts of my body and letting them express themselves in subtle little movements became a meditation. And now that I've done that for a while, that is kind of taking me to the stillness and a deeper stillness than enforcing it.
Thank you very much. That was beautiful. I'm going to go to our other guest, Lee, to see if there's anything you'd like to add to this conversation.
Yeah, I agree with what Anadea just said. Like, culturally, we have this mother wound. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. It's a wound that's come through history. I did a lot of research for these books, because it's actually a trilogy, and some of the characters go back and they're looking at this very thing. And one of the things that I came to was being willing to sit in meditation when those aspects of the mother wound come up, because they do for all of us. And there'll be like a memory of something, or something comes up on social media. It doesn't matter, but you can feel like there's an uncomfortable thing, and it's very clear it's coming from that wound. I actually used the lower belly to settle into the lower belly. Instead of the heart, I'll start with the head and go in and get really quiet, bring that down to the heart. It hits the heart. And then I let that move into the belly and viscerally feel the belly being massaged, loved, cared for, and I acknowledge it as the seat of the mother. This is where all creations come from, the mother. And what Anadea just said, in ancient times, was so revered. They have these cool little icons that they would fit in the palm of your hand. And these go back like 8,000 years, 10,000 years, some 30,000 years. And it's only the body of the goddess. They're loving and holding in their hand. And it was appears to be an individual practice. This big belly and the reproductive capacity, the opening. So I let myself feel those aspects of the mother, because sometimes what happens in our culture, it's all about the mother whose womb I was in. It's just about that. And Anadea is pointing to, and what I've come to see is so much bigger than that. It transcends long, long, long timelines. But when we see that and feel it and allow it to be in our body as expansion, and then we can feel the uncomfortableness, and that's the more contracted side, and then just let it expand a little bit. I just find meditating on it viscerally has become really, really helpful. And I appreciate so much, like I have looked into Anadea's book. When we look at the goddess, she just has to be here up front and center more than she's been. I don't think we're going to survive, thrive, and evolve unless we bring this back. And what she was mentioning too in her meditation, it's got to be more body. We have to bring it in so the cells start going, oh, well, wait, and this is where it gets back to Nassim's work. When I do that, when she does her movement, we are putting information into the field, and then the field is bringing information back to us. We're feeding forward and receiving back. And the more of us that do that, it expands out even bigger. And we are connecting to the cosmos, like an unlimited multiverses, with this feeding forward and coming back and feeding forward. And I think when we let our bodies participate, that's part of what we feed into the field. It's not just thoughts. It's the whole embodiment of who we are. So I get excited about that. So we're on the same page.
Awesome.
We certainly are.
Things kind of always work out, with getting like the two of you on the same show
Yeah.
together. And originally Lee was going to be on next week, and there was like, nope, I want to be with Anadea. So I'm going to read a few comments, and then we're going to put the spotlight on our beloved Eleanor Choi. Sylvia writes, I found swaying to Ishka Allah Ma Budala. Sorry if I mispronounced that, which I'm sure that I just did. She says swaying to that is a very helpful practice. And Sylvia continues, yes, through his history, the mother wound is an invitation to embody our story. Don Drake wrote something very sweet. He wrote, the blessing of the mother is powerful in this group. The transmission of Shakti is quite potent and delightful. Absolutely. And George Noble brought out a little history. He talked about how the Cathars had an emphasis on equality of sexes, and they were exterminated by the Pope's army when they invaded France. And so many became afraid to reconnect to the feminine, to the Divine Mother. And actually, even going back before that, there were really two original sects of Christianity. There was the African sect, which were primarily vegan and very peaceful. And their whole approach was Jesus as a model of how we all can be, and that we can all bring the Christ consciousness in. And they were also very violently wiped out by the Latin sect, which were converted Romans and had that romantic conquer the world approach to Christianity. So again, we've just seen over thousands of years how the divine feminine has been stomped out, and it is returning through Lee and Anadea and so many of the people that we get to see on this show. A couple more comments, and then we're going to go to get an update from Eleanor. George writes, so amazing that Lee was Catholic doing healing for her original spiritual training. Yes, God bless the recovering Catholics. And there are many of those. I see Terry Russo nodding her head up and down on that one. Well, we are a community, and one of our most beloved members of our community is Eleanor, who is still in the hospital. But Eleanor, you look quite sprite and up and ready. And she's there with her beloved Ian. And once they unmute themselves, we will look forward to hearing the latest update. There you go. Now we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Really want to thank Anadea and Lee for everything they had to say that was so right on. And I have felt so often male and female guides and angels cradling me, holding me, and I'm so in tune with my meditation. So it's been wonderful. And the update is I'm still extremely weak. However, I'm moving and I'm going home to Ian's place on Friday.
Fabulous. Well, of course, when I see you, we associate you with dancing. Don't want you to overexert yourself, but we are going to go to an Omashar song. So whatever you wish to show us as Omashar plays.
I won't be up dancing.
No, we know you won't be up dancing, but I liked what you did last week.
Yeah.
You used your hands a little bit. And Ian, thank you so much for taking such good care of our beloved. We love you so much. Thank you for.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, Omashar, what do you got for us mid-show?
Well, Ian, you can dance for Eleanor right now, so she can watch you dancing. How about that? And it's perfect. What I always feel humbled by the synchronicity of me tuning in to the show and to the collective that's joining on this evening, and the song that gets either created or I'm told to sing. And so two things. This new song came about 2 days ago, second new song in a week. Woohoo! And this one is called In the Stillness. And it brought to mind, my grandmother always used to say to me this little poem that most of us know. And it's a wise old owl lived in an oak. And the more she saw, the less she spoke. And the less she spoke, the more she heard. So now, wasn't she a wise old bird? So that's my grandmother's programming of me. One of the best things I think she ever did, apart from everything else, which was wonderful. And the first line of this song, In the Stillness, is the quieter you become, the more you can hear. So you can hear the direct correlation to that poem in this song. And so, without further ado, here we do. All right. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. In the silence, in the stillness, I am here. Through the wisdom of your tears, through your heartbreaks, through your breakthroughs, through the shedding of your fears. that I am cheering you on. Truth lives within you, and love leads the way. I love you. Now your heart and mind is clear, and you know that love is with you, love supports you, love is here. And you feel that you belong, and you're walking with purpose. You can hear your life's new song. Know that I am with you and guiding your way. Know that I am cheering you on. Truth lives within you, and love leads us through. I love you. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Da-da-da-da. In the silence, in the stillness, I am here. Through the wisdom of your tears, through your heartbreaks, through your breakthroughs, through the shedding of your fears. Know that I am with you and guiding your way. Know that I am cheering you on. Truth lives within you, and love leads us through. I love you. I love you. I
Wow, another awesome, new, amazing almost our song. Let's all give a big twinkle. That is a great one.
It's amazing, dude. The Scott, excuse me for duding you. The
You can do me anytime.
thank you. Just the Lee and Anadea, everything in my day comes from the stillness. And in the last 5 years, my meditation practice has been at least 2 or 3 times a day. And I'm getting stiller and stiller and stiller. And there's so much in there. There's so much wealth, 1,000,000% if there was such a thing, more than in the outer world. And these amazing chord structures are coming through from that stillness. And then riding on top of them are these fantastic melodies. And the lyrics are they come from the tribe, and this one from my grandmother and this tribe. And so in the stillness is where we are making the change. And
Well,
so
and it's so amazing that you got this 2 days ago, and then here right away, the very first thing Lee talks about is the stillness.
it's like the time-space continuum is shrinking into the now. And so we can actually get off of the time-space continuum and be 100% in the now. It takes 24/7 practice, and really it does. But we can retrain. We've got eons and lifetimes of interesting training, and we're all stepping out of that into the trueness of our beings. And so thank you for witnessing that, Lee and Anadea and Dude. So
Thank you for that. I just want to mention, this is so interesting that you brought that up, because about that you're meditating more during the day, because I'm doing that more too, for shorter periods than a long period. And the reason I'm bringing that up is Nassim Haramein, he's at the Space Federation doing all these, massive formulas of mathematics and geometries. And what he talks about that they do is they do this for each other throughout the day in meetings. It doesn't matter. They allow themselves to go into stillness. And if one person goes in, everybody joins. Everybody gets quiet and they wait patiently till it naturally everybody emerges and they move on. And he said they are moving at like exponentially high rates.
It's phenomenal. You're right. It's like the Quakers. Remember,
exactly.
It's their practice, and it is because the moment we get into the head, we go off on a tangent, and it's usually the ghost dogs of duality speaking through us. And every time we come back into 12 o'clock as the twin ray, I believe, is their place of balance, then we can move forward again. It doesn't matter if that happens 10 times in an hour, because we only want to come out from that stillness, that still point.
Beautiful.
Lee was talking about that field going out and coming back in. And what happens when you meditate is you go into resonance between the inner and the outer world. And we know that resonance happens when, sound waves, you're a musician, Omashar, you would know that, the waveforms of the different notes, when they have peaks and valleys that line up, there's harmony there. And resonance is sound waves actually adding together. And what happens is the amplitude, which is how loud it is, it adds. So if I have a wave like this and I add another one, it becomes like this. So the deeper we go into resonance, the more we actually expand the field. And when that field is very strong, someone else coming into it will be caught up in the field. It's just like if everybody's singing one song together and you have one person that just walks in, well, they're going to start dancing to that same rhythm because that field is so strong. So the more we create this resonant field with each other on the planet, with the divine, the more people will get caught in it and brought into that resonance as well.
Yes.
Beautiful. I want to just take a moment to remind everybody that we can support Omashar and support ourselves by going to the website. It's his name, omashar.com. And that's where you can go to Bandcamp, click, and buy his albums. And for especially all of you watching out on Facebook land, get his albums. They're amazing. I mean, every one of his songs is so powerful. And we love Omashar and we want to support him. So definitely omashar.bandcamp.com, or just go to omashar.com and click on his music. And thank you, Omashar, for that beautiful new song. 2 new songs in a week. That's pretty amazing. I'm going to go back for a moment and put the spotlight once again on Eleanor, because our dear Dorina Joy, and again, everybody, get your birthday information to Dorina Joy, and we'll put her email address into the chat box. But she has written a poem for you, and I hope I pronounced this correctly. It's an acrostic poem. So she has taken each letter of Eleanor Joy's name and come up with an adjective or a word. So as we look at Eleanor Joy, we look at her and we are enjoying, loving, energetic, amazing, natural, optimistic, radiating, and then the word joy, joyful, wonderful with an O, and younging, youthful. So there's a beautiful little gift for you from Dorina Joy.
Thank you so much, Dorina. I love that. Thank you. Thank you.
And again, thank you to Dorina Joy, who is now our birthday calendar goddess. So thank you for doing that. All right, I'm going to make an attempt to play a video that was sent to me by Anadea. Sometimes playing on, I haven't been able to download it, and so playing while downloading doesn't always go so well. Whoops. But let's see how this is. Hang on 1 second. Okay, we're gonna try again. So, Omashar, I'm gonna spotlight you, and you're gonna give me a thumbs up if it's playing well, and a thumbs down if it's not.
Okay.
There we go. Let's give this a try and see how it goes.
Who is this goddess whose name has long been forgotten? Who is this feminine essence of creation? This lady with laughing eyes, swishing her colorful skirts as she dances. Is she one or many? Human or divine? Is she eternal or is she constantly changing? Is she within or without? And why is her beauty and wisdom so missing in our world? The goddess may be long forgotten, yet you already know her. She is the mother who bore you, the smile on your sister's face, the grandmother who winks at you from beneath her wrinkles. She is the beauty of the green earth and the silvery light of the moon. She is the flowers blossoming in spring and the ripeness of the fall harvest. She is the mystery of birth and death and the lover who embraces all that lies between. She is you and me and all living things, the incessant manifestation of nature in all its myriad expressions. To meet her is not only to love her, but to be embraced by her love in return. She does not judge or punish, but offers compassion when we stumble. She doesn't want sameness or conformity, but expresses herself through a wide diversity, for all are worthy within her vast creation. Her flowers and fruits express her abundance, for she always creates more than enough. Her song is the song of creation, transformation, and completion, all within a cyclic wheel of time. And she is calling to you, calling you into her heart, calling you back home once again. Home to the goddess.
Man, that's gorgeous. And of course, our good friend Gary Malkin, who's on the show all the time. I was just on with Gary, having a Zoom chat with him earlier today. Tell us the story about this video that we just watched.
Well, in writing the book, I was asked to create a masterclass on the goddess, which right now is available through Humanities Team. And that is the beginning of the masterclass. Then there's a 40-minute teaching on different aspects of the goddess, all with video and pictures, and then 11-minute meditation on breathing the goddess in and out of each one of your chakras. And so I created it for that. I love creating video. I love telling stories with images and music and drama and writing. And it was just my tribute to the goddess, because we have to experience her. She's not a concept. She is a living, embodied experience of beauty and love and grace.
Beautiful. Well, the comments are flying in. Dorina Joy writes, what a gorgeous compilation of awesome images, inquiring questions, inspiring messages, and emotive music, and a beautiful invitation in this wonderful video. Thank you, Anadea, for creating and sharing. And more comments. Awesome, beautiful, all the comments coming in. So thank you for sending that to me to play. Thank you very, very much. I'm going to bring Lee back up and read more comments, and I've got a couple of questions, but just kind of going back to the mother wound, Sylvia had written a little bit follow-up there. She wrote, part of my mother wound happened in my first month of life. Connecting to my newborn self as a dragon unicorn is helping me be more present in my fire and sass and root chakra. So thank you, Sylvia, for sharing that. And George vulnerably shares, my own mother wound has to do with being overly close to my mother, who I later learned had been my wife in an earlier life, and this disrupted my entire psychosexual development. So thank you both for sharing so vulnerably. And as Anadea said, we all have a mother wound. We all have the dynamics that we're working with. Anadea, since you wrote Wheels of Life, which is the Bible of our understanding of the chakras, what are your thoughts? Often, of course, we hear about the 7 chakras, but often we hear from metaphysical teachers that there are actually many, many chakras beyond the 7. Now, I know that's a whole show unto itself, but could you give us just a little bit about how we can connect to maybe some of the chakras that we aren't so familiar with beyond the 7 chakras that we know most?
Well, I don't deny that there are chakras above and below the body that are like overtones. You play a note on a string on a guitar and it vibrates and it gives off an overtone and it goes off into, levels that you can't quite hear with a human ear, but they're there, And so I think of those chakras above the body as overtones of the self. But I am really one that is a stickler for the basic 7 because I feel they cover the full spectrum. And I like the chakras that are embodied, that they are in the body. I mean, even including the ones in the head, chakra 6 in the third eye and chakra 7 in the crown, but they're all within our direct experience. So I don't actually have a lot of information or even support for trying to get in the ones out of the body. I say, bring it down into the body. I think that's where we're going to bring heaven to earth. We have to do it in an embodied way. We have Father Sky and Mother Earth, but there's 8 billion of us living on Earth. So we may as well start to come down into the body and bring it through there. So I'm afraid I can't help you too much on that one. I like the basic.
No, well, I love where you went with that question. And, I think one of the things that I've observed is, 10, 20 years ago, maybe even more, 30 years ago, everybody just wanted to leave their body. Like it was all about leaving the body and ascending. But now most of the teachers I hear from are saying, no, it's about coming into the body. It's about embodiment. It's not about, taking drugs and escaping. It's about coming into the body and recognizing that the body temple, that our bodies are this extraordinary temple that we are so blessed to have. So, I hear you, and I'm bringing Lee back on. So, kind of on that note, all right, so quantum physics, this incredible understanding of the cosmos, but how does that relate then to our human body and actually working with the body temple?
Yeah, well, you were just bringing up a good point. Like it's this physical body that allows us to have the experience of the cosmos in the first place. Without the body, we'll just be out there floating around. But so one of the key things for me in that is to remember every tiny little proton, trillions of protons in my body within trillions of atoms within trillions of cells, that they are, all of that is exchanging information with the field at all times. So this body is connected to the field. It isn't just like, oh, we're part of the field and we're floating in it. It's a dynamic. In other words, there's such a dynamic, they call it entanglement. Our protons with that of every other proton in the multiverse, we can't disentangle. We're part of it all. We're an integral part, and we're getting information from it and feeding information back. So I think the body is the cool place for us to get to experience the feelings of it. Without the body, it would just be just energy. But we have condensed it into a form that gets to feel it all. And some of it is heart-wrenching, but a lot of it is awe-inspiring. So yeah, I think the body's the place to be, personally.
Beautiful. Anodea, anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, the body is an instrument of consciousness. It's through our eyes that we see, it's through our ears that we hear, it is through the cells of the body that we sense. But the interesting thing is, in the nervous system, we have about 100,000 more nerve endings dedicated to sensing the internal state than we do the external state.
Wow.
So our nervous system, what we feel on the end of our skin and what we see with our eyes and all, there's about 100,000 more internal neuroreceptors. So we're more sensitive to the internal, but the body is the temple. And when we treat it as such, the divine takes up residence there. And I think that's what we're here to do, is to, I say evolution is the God's way of making more gods. And that our initiation is to awaken to our divinity and bring that into the body and bring heaven down to earth.
Beautiful. When Deepak was on the show once, he said something very interesting, that about how interconnected we all are. He said that if we live to be about 90 or 95 years old, we will share approximately 10,000 molecules with every other human being who ever lived, right? Isn't that an amazing concept about just how interconnected we are throughout history? It's really a beautiful thing.
You'll breathe a molecule of oxygen that Einstein breathed,
Right, exactly. Tiara wrote, we were taught 30 or 40 years ago that we were more than our bodies because our culture was so body focused and not focused on our spiritual nature. Many of us went, yoo! I knew it, and we did float around, but now is the time to come back in. Expansion and contraction as the natural order of things. It's a beautiful way of putting it. Okay, we've got a question here from Darina Joy. She says, Lee, I'm looking forward to reading your book, Tethered to the Cosmos, and the entire trilogy. Can you expand more about the exalted vibrations and also how to embody the vibratory celebration of quintessential planetary unicity? She got that quote from your book description. So tell us about that.
Yeah. It was kind of hard. Like, how do I condense all of this? Because in this book, I'll tell you really quickly, we're talking about the goddess. The main character her name is Sophia. And Sophia is here with her husband and her best friend. They don't remember that they've been coming here for millions of years at particular evolutionary periods. So your question is really beautiful because decided to call it exalted vibrations because that's the overarching theme is they are building on and trying to understand how to create exalted vibrations within themselves, bringing that out into the world, sharing it more, and creating a group around them that will support them in that. And so, in the time period to 20 to 2045, Sophia comes up with this. She can't remember who she is, but she's starting to have memories. She knows she's connected to some giants, and that's confusing. How could that be? And a lot of that happens for us. We start having memories and dreams, and who are we? Where did we come from? But she has told that she has till 2045 to find an artifact, and it can determine whether the planet makes it or not. And she's very close to Gaia. You start to learn about somebody who loves Gaia as a sentient being. This woman and her buddies really do. And so does her circle of friends. So the point is, when Sophia goes to look for an artifact, she doesn't know what it looks like, where it is, or what it's for. And that to me is where the exalted vibrations come in. She has no place to go but inside to raise her frequency and to stay in what she calls the exalted vibrations, knowing that she's a human being and she's going to have loss and be devastated. But she keeps coming back to the exalted state again and again and again because she's looking for something. But she, again, like all of us, she doesn't know what it is. She doesn't even know where do I find it. Those are all the questions we ask. Where do I find this? We have to keep searching. And her unfoldment happens a lot because she is around these quantum physicists and archaeologists and people that are taking her way back in history, cosmologists. And so the book, the trilogy took a whole lot of research and a whole lot of thought going in every day just after meditation. And I gave up scripting it and making it into a big framework. I wrote just for the last 3 years, just wrote and wrote and wrote till it finished itself. And I got to find out what Sophia was really looking for. I can't wait for you guys to hear it.
All right. So, of course, we're talking about her book, and you can learn all about what she's sharing and all about the book by going to her website, which is her name, leekempter.com, LeeKemter.com, leekempter.com. And we're talking about the Exalted Vibrations trilogy. How could quantum physics unite with mysticism to shed light on solutions for the daunting future of humanity and Gaia herself? Why is 2045, the year 2045, 21 years from now, so important? And this is the first book of the trilogy, Tethered to the Cosmos, the first novel of the Exalted Vibrations trilogy. And of course, by going to her website, you just click. That's where you can order from Amazon. Now, the next book and the upcoming events, tell us about that. When will the next book be coming out?
Yeah, I'll have to see because I'm self-publishing it. And one thing I found with self-publishing, it has its own life force. So I don't usually get to decide with the editors and all that other stuff. So hopefully the second book will come out hopefully sometime this year. And then, of course, we have a third book coming sometime next year. So.
Wow. Well, I'm excited. I've got my copy that you sent me, so I'm looking forward to reading it. And thank you for. We all have roles to play, and you mentioned very briefly being caregiver to your husband and to a parent, and I just want to acknowledge both that, the incredible sacrifice that caregivers have to make. My day job is I'm a coach, and I work a lot with people that are dealing with death and dying. And I tend to, give a little bit of energy to the person who's dying, but I like to find who's taking care of them, because it's caregivers that need much more attention. The person who's dying is getting all the love and all the goodbyes and all the prayers. And meanwhile, there's somebody who's, cleaning up their mess and taking care of them and is exhausted and not getting a whole lot of attention. So that's something I learned a long time ago. So I just really want to acknowledge those years you spent in the very sacred act and the sacred role of caregiving. Thank you for that, Lee. And for anybody listening, bless you for being a caregiver, especially to someone who is, really physically not capable of taking care of themselves anymore. Thank you. We're going to swing over to Anadea for a moment. Anadea, tell us a little bit more about how we can have a direct experience of the goddess. That video, there's so many beautiful images of the goddess. So, okay, for those of us that are wanting to experience the goddess as more than an intellectual idea, what are some ways that we can connect to the goddess?
The simplest way is simply to go outside. We have a culture where we spend 90% of our time, if not 100%, within walls, looking at a screen with a roof over our head, blocking out the sky. We might have a little window, but we need to go outside, get our feet on the ground, and especially, whether you're in the northern or southern hemisphere. I mean, in the northern hemisphere, here we are going into spring, and it's so magical. But fall is magical also. So if you're in the southern hemisphere and you're starting to go into autumn and winter, that's also a magical process of going inside. And one thing about the goddess is she's seen in 3 aspects, although I talk about 4 in the book: maiden, mother, crone, and then the 4th one I talk about is queen. But more than just the stages of a woman's life, the maiden is the springtime. She's the promise of renewal, the freshness. The mother is the summer's ripeness and fruits and fall harvest. And the crone is the winter, the time of rest and darkness. So as we just connect with nature, the goddess is right there. And if you just speak to her, you'll listen, just listen for the words whispering in your heart, that still small voice. She's trying to speak to you.
Beautiful. Well, tell us a little bit about this website. This is one of your websites that you sent my way, and it's sherisesmovement.com. sherisesmovement.com. Tell us about this website and how we can work and play with this.
Yeah, well, if you look at the website, there's quite a few things on it. This came out of actually, when the pandemic hit and I was no longer traveling as much, I'd traveled teaching all over the world for 25 years. What came through was this deck of archetypes, female archetypes of leadership that I call She Rises. And each archetype is talked about from the point of view of I, the archetype directly speaking; she, information about that archetype, historical or just data about women and money or something. And then you, what happens when you work with this archetype? And so for my 70th birthday, which was at the end of 2022, I did a large public performance of these archetypes on stage, and with Gary Malkin playing music. And it was a big public, like I say, a big show. And at that time, we decided this needed to be a movement, and is the movement of the feminine rising. Now, this does not leave out men. This is not a women's only thing. There's a quote I have in my book that the goddess movement doesn't only include men, it insists on it. So the men in this movement are happy because they're cavorting with goddesses who treat them like a god. They have women that are in their own power and capable of a full partnership. And so it's not just a women's movement, but it is the fact that the feminine what I say is the feminine needs to rise and the masculine needs to deepen right now. And when that happens, we can meet in the heart.
Beautiful. Well, again, that particular website is She Rises Movement. There's some beautiful images from this card deck that you talked about. And there's some really beautiful quotes. So definitely go check out. And do you have any events taking place that you want to promote? Are there any live events, or are we pretty much all online now?
I am going to do a live event in San Rafael at Open Secret, but we haven't pinned down the date yet, so I'm afraid I can't advertise that.
Not a problem. When the time comes, let us know and we'll present it here for sure. All right, I'm going to bring Lee back up, and there's a few comments that have come in. There's a whole conversation going on about the word crone. Susan wrote, the crone can be much more than the end and rest. Her wisdom can save the world. Thank you for that, Susan. The goddess movement requires men to be more alive to their natural ways. Thank you again, Susan, for that. And Kathy writes, crone is a horrible term for a wise woman. And Susan suggests as an alternative, I like white grandmother. So that's quite beautiful. I guess while we're on it, any thoughts about kind of the crone archetype?
Well, some say the word crone goes with the word crown. I think Clarissa Pinkola Estes first said that. I looked it up and I didn't find that it really held water, but it is the crown of wisdom, and it is the period of going within. It's the period of meditation. It's the period of not doing so much and really going inside and being quiet and letting things rest. And, in the patriarchal paradigm, it's like an arrow that goes out forever. And it says we can just go in one direction forever, but that is not sustainable. The goddess is cyclic and says, in order to be sustainable, you need a period of rest. The field needs a fallow time. And so the crone is that wisdom that comes from the stillness that we've been talking about as we've been talking about meditation. And I debated when I wrote the book, should I use wise woman? Because crone can sometimes be derogatory, but I wanted to reclaim the word as something respectful.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Lee, anything you'd like to add about that?
Yeah, the idea of the crone, I like that you're saying to reclaim the word, because there's a lot of words that have been so distorted over time about women in general. But in every culture, like I spent 5 years in India with my husband, so we got really into the yogic traditions. And in there, as older people, they become forest dwellers. They go off and spend that time, that cycle of their life doing certain things. But when I went back deeper in history and saw where women have always worked with a lunar cycle. And it doesn't matter if you're postmenopausal or whatever, our bodies create these hormones, unlike a man's who has certain hormones he's producing, but his are daily. And it's this consistent kind of a movement where women's change throughout the whole month. And so I even, in part of the second book, that Sophia starts to explore that with some other civilizations, in the cosmos, to see how did they handle that so naturally. Because there's times in a month where a woman needs more rest. There's a couple of days in there where she's super high energy, but we're not taught in our culture to allow that to be. We go in that, what Anna just said, go, 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 go. And it works for men because of a dopamine hit that's good for them. But for women, it's depleting. So if we could get back to the goddess of the moon cycles and work with that. That's why I love that we're talking about goddesses. Finally, she gets to have a voice and do a lot more of this physicalization and conversation because we got to talk about it to get it out there. It's been too quiet for too long. But these cycles that are literally physical, they're hormonal. We're built that way as women. If we incorporated it from the time we were young, we wouldn't know any different. We'd think it was fine that a woman took off, or all of a sudden, why is she on fire? It's not to go, what's wrong with her? She just has that energy right now, and it's surging through her. Take advantage of that and learn and let her be free. But in the times that she needs to be quiet, leave her the heck alone. Let her just be quiet. And because she's building up all this gorgeous energy that she can then express in the world when it's her time of the month to do that. So I love this having the conversation, Scott, that you're willing to have about the goddess, because she's just so important. My husband, luckily, was really loved the whole Shiva Shakti thing, and he was very intrigued by what he called the Devi. And I could write a whole book on his experiences as a man interacting with the Devi and what it felt like in his body. And it taught him many things about masculinity that he didn't know when he got in touch with her. And it was very beautiful because it was like part of his transition from life. And I won't go into it now, so you know, we don't have time, but stories of his interactions with the Devi that started to come up. And it wasn't Shiva, it was a manifestation of the Shakti of Devi that was really helping him through the transition.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. Deborah DR just wrote, yes, loving the beautiful balance of divine masculine and feminine that we have here in our Global Peace Tribe. And it's true, we have, you know, so many beautiful men like Reverend Jeffrey and Omashar. So, you know, we do appreciate and the wild monk of the Mystic Monastery, Jerry Anderson. So I do want to acknowledge at a time that clearly the rise of the divine feminine is happening. And so many of our speakers on the show tend to be women, but I just want to say that there are some pretty cool men out there as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of cool men, I always say that Omashar is the alpha and omega of the awakening world. All things begin and end with Omashar. And we are going to close with an Omashar song. But before we do that, I do want to let people know about what's happening on Saturday night. Because this Saturday night, we've got a really wonderful show planned. Once again, we are collaborating with Teresa Collins, who will be my co-host. She, of course, runs the Global Coherence Pulse, and she and Julie Kroll have created something called the Connection Field, which is a beautiful new way for us to all interact and interconnect. It's kind of an alternative to Facebook. And look at all the amazing people that are going to be with us on Saturday night. Of course, Omashar. Tatiana is coming back again. We love Tatiana Speed. And we also are going to have a wonderful new musical artist joining us, Diva Sonic, and she is wonderful. So we're going to have a lot of music on Saturday night, and then we're going to hear from all these wonderful folks. Tammy Scarlett from Unify, Grace Lynn from HeartMath, Julie Kroll, who's been doing what I do, you know, this show that I've been doing. She's been doing a show like that for 12 years. And Julie's amazing. So it's going to be a great, great show. So make sure you join us this Saturday night. And for all of you watching on Facebook, time to register. Come join the Global Peace Tribe so you can come into the Zoom room for all of these wonderful shows we do 2 or 3 times a week. All right. Mr. Omashar, what is the grand finale going to be tonight?
It is a group song, and let's turn that off, turn that on. And this is the sing-along bit in the chat.
There it is. I am one with all feeling.
Returning is a sing-along, and it's about attuning your heart back to the mother. And because that is where we're at. And without that, without us men deepening and the feminine rising, what have we got to look forward to? So let's do that. Here we go. I am one with all. Wow. With all, one with all feeling, and one with all love, one with all healing, and one with all. Come on, Ian, dance. I am one with all, one with all feeling, and one with all love, one with all. One with all healing, and one with all. A felt alone for oh so many years, held my head high to hide the pain, nowhere to turn, so to myself again I tuned my heart to the mother. I am one with all feeling, and one with all love, one with all healing, and one with all. I am one with all feeling, and one with all love, one with all healing, and one with all. The time has come to wake my sleepy head and peel back the sheets of illusion. The time has come to lift my voice once more and sing the songs of the new world. I am one with all feeling, and one with all love, one with all healing, and one with all. We are one with all feeling, and one with all love, one with all healing, and one with all. One more time. We are one with all feeling, and one with all love, one with all healing, and one with all. We are one with all feeling, and one with all love, one with all healing, and one with all. The time has come. The time has come.
Beautiful. We're going to go to gallery review one last time. Let's all twinkle on Mashar. You know, we're all going to have that song in our heads for the rest of the night. That's always what happens. The closing song he does is what's in my head for the rest of the evening. Thank you so much, Mashar. Love you so much. Well, a reminder one last time, we want to thank our wonderful goddesses who are our guests, Anadea Judith and her wonderful book called Goddess, Blessed Reunions with the Feminine Face of the Divine. And again, a big shout out, and let's all get Tethered to the Cosmos, the first of this Exalted Vibrations trilogy, book number 1 by Lee Kempter. Thank you so much, Lee and Anadea, for all your dedication to write these books, get them out to the world. What beautiful creative expressions. And of course, thank you, Mashar, for just really making this show always so wonderful. Let's have a wonderful week. I look forward to hopefully seeing all of you on Saturday night. And I'm going to go to gallery view one last time. Everybody can wave goodbye. Good night, everybody. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening.
Thank you, Scott. Beautiful.
Thanks.
Thank you, Omashar. Thank you, Lee. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. This was great. Thank you.
Woohoo!